Welcome to Education Forum. I'm Herman Badillo, Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the City University. The improvement of education affects all New Yorkers. This program will focus on the key educational issues and challenges before us all. My guest today is Dr. Nicholas M. Michelli, who is the new Dean for Teacher Education at the City University of New York. He has a bachelor's degree from Montclair State University in Social Sciences. He received a Master of Arts from NYU in African Studies and Politics, and he received a Doctor of Education at Columbia Teachers College. And for the past 20 years, he has served as Dean of the College of Education and Human Services at Montclair State University in New Jersey. And I wanted to have a Dean for Teacher Education at the City University because the position had been dormant for many, many years. And it happens that we at the City University provide the largest number of teachers to the New York City public school system. And for that reason, I wanted to make sure that we do a better job in the future than we have been doing in the past. Welcome, Dr. Michelli.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure.
And I want you to know what I have been concerned about and what the trustees have been concerned about. There is a great deal of controversy, and the Board of Regents, the Vice Chairman of the Board of Regents, warned us at a meeting about 2 years ago that certain of the City University colleges were going to be losing their accreditation for education because the percentage of students who passed the teacher's exam has been lower than for the state university. And we even had an instance, which was reported in the New York Daily News 2 weeks ago, of a graduate of the city college in 1994 who has failed the teacher's exam 12 times and is still teaching. To me, that's unacceptable, so we have to change it. And you're the fellow who's going to change it. Tell us how you're going to do it.
Well, teacher education is an area where we have to have very high standards. Nationally, being admitted to a university is not the same as being admitted to teacher education. We need a separate admissions process, and we have that in place now at the City University colleges, in which we're looking at students who have the same commitments that we have and who have academic excellence. I mean, if students don't major in the subject they're going to teach, if they don't know what they're supposed to teach, they can't teach it. So we have seen test scores go up, and they're going to continue to climb. Now,
the newspapers are talking every day about the problem of lack of teachers and the loss of teachers in New York City, yes, and the shortage of teachers. So let's say that somebody's watching this program now, yes, who wants to become a teacher. What would be the requirements for enrolling in a program at the City University?
Well, if they want to do it as an undergraduate, they have a, yes, vehicle for being admitted to one of the colleges. There are 8 senior colleges that have teacher education programs. Then there's a separate admission process for teacher education, but it's very important that they take the core of liberal arts courses at the beginning. We need well-educated teachers. They take a major, if they're going to teach mathematics, that every other mathematics major takes. And then they increasingly get involved with schools and ultimately do student teaching.
Let me go into that issue because there was a time, and maybe there still is, a situation where you can become a teacher if you just took courses in education without teaching the particular subject. In other words, a gym teacher could become, a person who took a liberal arts in gymnastics could become a teacher and then teach English or social studies. No. That's not possible anymore.
No longer the case. Under New York standards, one must have a major in the area you're going to teach. And I applaud that. I think it's very important, and it will be a step in the right direction. Now, if you don't want to become a teacher as an undergraduate, there are 2 other options. We have master's degree programs for liberal arts graduates who want to become teachers that focus on pedagogy, on child development. And with the New York City schools, we started this summer a major program that is an alternate route, that is college-based, that will bring people interested in changing careers into the city schools with a intensive preparation.
Now, that's still a controversial program because some people are saying that this is a way of avoiding the whole issue of teacher education. Tell us what that program is about.
It's the best I've seen. I spent the last 20 years nationally studying alternate route programs. And in most cases, the colleges are bypassed or have a minimal role. In this case, we are really partners with the New York City schools.
Okay, now who can apply for that program? Do you need a college degree
Yes.
in order to enroll?
Yes, you need
But
it.
it could be a college degree in anything.
Well, yes, it depends on what you want to teach. If you're going to teach mathematics, your background has to be in a field that is mathematics
Well, let's say
related
I'm
to
a
it.
lawyer and I want to teach in the public school system. What would you do with someone like me?
What was your undergraduate major?
I majored in accounting and economics because I'm also a certified public accountant.
Well, it's possible that you could teach social studies. We'd have to look at your record.
So what, well, I had a very good record. I graduated magna cum laude
Yeah,
from
I'm
City
sure.
College and number one in
Yeah.
my class in law school.
We're-
So using me as an example,
Yes.
what would you do with me if I want to teach?
If you wanted to teach, and by the way, we had this summer, we had physicians and we had judge and attorneys. It's a rigorous screening process. There were 2,000 applicants, 340 were accepted, 6-hour interview. It's followed by, at least this past summer, and we, of course, this is the first experience with it, a very intensive program, 200 hours, 4 weeks in length, taught by a team of City University faculty, New York City master teachers, and young teachers who have begun successful careers.
Well, you're telling me that you could make me into a teacher in just one summer.
Well,
isn't it?
I'm telling you that we can make you ready to begin, but you will require extensive mentoring and support. And that's what we're looking at now. That's the critical piece of this. It's broken down in other states when the teaching has begun. New York State standards require daily mentoring on-site and a City University, in this case, City University faculty member once a month participating in that process. That support network is critical.
Suppose I wanted to teach in the 7th grade. Would that be, do you give an assignment? In other words, would I get a diploma that would enable me to teach in the middle school, or would it be to any
Yes.
school? In the public
It
school
really,
system?
it depends. It depends on your background and on your record. In your case, you probably could qualify for a 7th grade teaching assignment. The actual assignments are done by the New York City schools, of course, in terms of where the needs are. Now, in the best of all worlds, would this be the best sort of program? No. I think in the best of all worlds, we'd have teaching be a calling and people recognizing that it is critical work, because I really believe that what we do with kids in our urban schools will define the future of this nation, its economy and its democracy, more than almost anything else.
Well, one last question in my case. After I finish whatever rigorous courses you have set out
Yes.
for me, I would have to pass the teacher's exam, the
You'd
regent's exam?
You would have to pass the liberal arts exam and the content test before you begin teaching. And I must say that with this group, we had about a 95% pass rate, 96%, which was almost as good as Queens College and as College Staten Island. So they did rather well. And down the road, they must pass a third test, which is a test of teaching skills, and enroll in a master's program, Master of Arts degree program that is...
In education?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we also have a very substantial number of teachers in the teaching in the public school system who are uncertified because they have failed the teacher's exam in the past.
Yes.
And many of them are graduates of the City University. What
Yes.
can we do about them?
They'll have to leave teaching if they can't pass the test. By 2004, every teacher in the 2003, every teacher in the city schools must be certified, and I think that's a wonderful regulation. And we're working with the district to see that there's a supply. If a person can't pass the test, in my view, that's a minimum requirement to be safe to start. Now, I wouldn't say it's the only requirement, but it's a minimum.
So are we developing a program to bring them back, to give them additional training so they can pass the test?
Yes, sir. That's available if they want to do it. We do it at a number of the city college, city university settings. But we're also putting on the emphasis on preparing new teachers who will pass the test.
Okay, but I don't want to have any teachers who are uncertified teaching. So let's
No.
say that the fellow who failed the test 12 times is watching this program. What could he do to make sure he passes it next time?
Well, we have preparation programs that will help him. But if he's not able to, ultimately, he'll have to do something else besides teaching. He can't stay in the profession beyond that deadline.
Well, how did he get a diploma from City College in 1994 in teacher education if he apparently can't pass the exam because he's failed it 12 times.
Well, I wasn't here in
No,
1994.
no, but I mean, what this is
No,
not just that
you're
case.
right.
How
No.
did it happen?
I can't answer the question in the instance of City College, but there have been instances where colleges have felt that they want people to graduate, and they think that teaching is a place where they can graduate and not meet rigorous standards, and that's been a terrible mistake. It's not only happened in New York, it's happened in lots of our great cities, and it can't be, because that's the most critical thing. We need teachers who understand, and that practice will not continue. We'll only have people who pass the test and are successful and have the will and understand the role of schools, and that'll be the way it has to be.
Well, you know, we have some colleges at the City University where the pass rate is very low, especially among Black and Hispanic students. How can you tell me, as chairman of the board, that you're going to see to it doesn't happen? What do you plan to do?
Yeah, well, for one thing, the trend has been up, and I think the data, which we haven't officially seen yet, will show that we've made significant improvements in a number of those settings. Most CUNY colleges will be above 90%. Sarah, I think that the big issue is going to be one of admissions and one of support. We cannot accept students into programs who come with deficiencies, and I think that's parallel with the direction of City University as a whole. That is, that we're accepting qualified students into the university, and that'll be a stronger pool from which we will select teacher education students. Now, the pressure is the increasing demand for teachers, and we have to be strong, because historically, when there has been a shortage of teachers, the standards have fallen. We can't allow that to happen this time.
Well, what I want to do is to increase the number of students who are going into teacher education in order to ensure that we meet the shortage.
Absolutely.
What can we do to do that?
Yes, sir. What we will do is to begin working with them earlier in schooling. I mean, I've been associated with programs that start in middle schools to have young people think about teaching. That's one piece of it. We'll do that in the middle schools, we'll do it in the high schools. We'll create future teachers clubs, something that we had in the 60s. It's time again, but they have to be honors clubs,
Okay,
not just anyone.
We'll talk about that after these commercials.
Okay.
Do you think you have the power to change the world?
I can shape the future, one child at a time.
I know I can make a difference in those children's lives, and I know I have.
Who knows where my influence may stop?
I teach.
I teach.
I teach.
Yes, they're teachers, but to the kids they reach, they're heroes.
I think I have the power to change the world. The influence is always there.
Do you have the power to wake up young minds, to be someone's hero, to change someone's life? Reach for that power. Teach. If you want to make an impact on our future, call 1-800-45-TEACH. Want to change the world?
I teach. I teach.
I teach.
I teach. I teach.
Be a teacher. Be a hero.
We're back with Dr. Thomas Michelli, the new University Dean for Teacher Education at the City University. You were saying that you have developed a program to encourage students at the high schools and middle schools to go into teacher education.
We haven't done it yet in New York, but we will.
Have you done it? Did you do that in New Jersey?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Tell us about it.
Well, it was a program that connected us not only with the schools, but with the unions. I mean, I think they have to be a partner in this. They have to talk about teaching as a profession and as a career. I mean, traditionally, people who say they're professionals are responsible in part for encouraging new people to enter the profession. And we will do teacher education in collaboration with our faculty in arts and sciences, with the schools, and with our education faculty. So they have to be a partner in this. They have to encourage their students to be teachers. We can't have teachers saying, don't ever go into this profession. We have to find a way to do it. The other thing is that we need our arts and science faculty to recognize that their students, their majors, are the future teachers, and that they have a vested interest. If they want good chemistry majors in the university, they need good chemistry teachers in schools. And they can't be limited in saying to their students, well, I want you to be a chemist. They also have to think about being teachers, and we're working on that as well.
Now, we both consider teaching to be a profession. And if we look at the professions today, we find, at least I find, that the only profession where there seems to be that severe shortage, tens and thousands of teachers, is in teaching. I mean, there's no great shortage in New York of lawyers, certainly, or CPAs. But why is it that the teaching profession has this huge shortage?
Well, for one thing, we're at a point where there are lots of retirements. That's a piece of it. It is a matter of an aging cohort of workers, and we know that that will affect the situation nationally.
But that means that in an earlier generation, fewer students wanted to be teachers, huh?
Well,
because otherwise the retirements would be met by the new people who join the profession.
And I think teaching has gone through a time of bad press, not entirely undeserved. And I would say that teacher education programs and universities have in part shared the blame for that. So part of the problem is that teaching has not been portrayed as an attractive profession. In my view, it really has to be a calling. It really has to be people who see themselves and understand the kind of influence that they can have on the life of a child. And you know, there's an old saying that those who can do and those who can't teach. Right. I say that those who can't teach go into some less important profession. I don't think there's anything more important than the teacher who will make a difference in the life of a child, in that child's role as a functioning member of the economy, and very importantly, because this is often overlooked, as a citizen in this democracy.
Right, but to what extent, however, are the problems that the union and other people who are teachers point out present an obstacle to becoming a teacher? One is lower salaries than other professions. The second is terrible conditions in the schools, because the schools are overcrowded. And for example, my wife has 37 kids in a class. She has 4 classes. And bad conditions in the school. I've been in schools where you can almost see the asbestos falling down. To what extent do those conditions make it undesirable for people to want to go into that calling?
It's a disincentive. There's no question about it. I think the city is competing against some very attractive options that people have in other settings, where salaries are higher and classes are smaller, and schools are in better condition. But I think they're going to get better. I think I hope that our society recognizes how important this body of students are to this future of this society, and will invest in it. And the other thing is that the rewards that one can get in urban teaching are just extraordinary. Now, we can't depend on intrinsic rewards for everyone's motivation, but they are very deep. And I know this from people that I've talked to in my own life in terms of the quality of life one can get. Do we have to address those external factors, salary and conditions and so? Absolutely, we do.
Which one of those would you say is the most important from all the people that you've talked to?
Of those three?
Yeah, of those three, salaries or overcrowded conditions? Or?
Yeah, sure. Salary is important. There's no question about it, because people need to feel as if they are worthwhile. But I think a sense of respect as a professional, which has to do with working conditions as much as with salary, is probably as important. That is, that you're in a place where it is attractive, you're valued because you're there, you have access to a telephone. I mean, teachers are adults and they're professionals, and most teachers can't even get to a telephone in the course of a day. And I think those sorts of conditions are demeaning and have to change along with salary before we can really get the workforce that we need in the classrooms.
What do you think is the maximum number of students there should be in a classroom, in the average normal classroom, not special education?
You know, the research is unclear about that. We have not demonstrated unequivocally that you get down to very small classes, that it makes as dramatic a difference as one hoped. Some people have said that the real difference is when you go from 1 to 2 students, and that you're competing for the attention of the teacher. But I think certainly classes of 37 are impossible. Very, very difficult for a teacher to manage and to be effective and do the kind of individualization. I happen to think that 20, 25 is an optimal size. That's what I would hope for.
Well, someone like Mayor Giuliani keeps pointing out that when he went to parochial schools, the classes were huge, and yet the students learn. What's your answer to that point that he makes?
Yeah, well, one of the differences is, of course, there's a difference in time of where the society was and the respect that teachers were held in. But there also is a difference in the ability of parochial schools to be selective. They don't have to take everyone. And they have that option of excluding students who are difficult, something the public schools find very difficult to do. I think it's a matter of a different time, different sort of respect, and that option of dealing with students who are difficult students.
One of the other things that we've done at CUNY is we've set up a PhD in teacher education.
Urban education.
Urban
yes.
education. I wanted to do that because many years ago I taught at the Graduate School of Education at Fordham University.
Yes.
And I thought it was strange that City University, trains more teachers than any other, didn't have a PhD in urban education. But what I found was when I was teaching, because I taught the history of the Puerto Rican community and city planning and urban education, was that the students all told me that they never got any practical courses on conditions of areas such as East Harlem and the South Bronx, or about the problems that a teacher would find. In other words, students, if they're going to be prepared for teaching in New York City, have to have courses that talk about the reality of the kinds of families that they'll be dealing with.
There's no question.
Are you planning to provide that kind of training?
Absolutely. When I mean, I looked at those 300 young people who were full of enthusiasm, and that their eyes were gleaming. And what I said to them was, "I can see your eyes are gleaming, and it's wonderful, but it's not enough. You have to be realistic about the conditions that this society has placed children in. You have to be realistic about the schools and about the challenge." And we do that with our students who are undergraduates. They spend much more time in the schools than the summer group did. They're in there but they have to be good experiences. We don't just drop them into a setting where we know that it's going to be a bad experience. We need good teachers who are partners and are willing to be the conduit by which young people get a realistic view of what's possible. That's very important.
Well, the summer session that took place in the Board of Education highlighted some of the serious problems that exist. And one of the biggest problems was that so many of the children who were left back or were supposed to be left back did not show up in school. And Chancellor Levy said he had a great deal of problems with the parents, getting the parents to understand the importance of having their children go to the school. So this is one of the problems that very few people want to talk about, the need to relate to parents.
Yeah.
How do you train teachers to do that?
It has to be part of their experience. I mean, learning to be a teacher, it's not enough to be in a classroom. See, because I really do believe that you have to see the school as part of the community. If you don't understand the community, then you don't understand the school, you don't understand the children. So, for example, one of the things I've done in the past and hope to do now is to introduce service learning as a vehicle, whereby our students will not just be having experience in schools, but will be also in community agencies, working with people from the communities that they will ultimately serve. So they have a view of these kids, not just in the classroom, but in after-school programs, in other sorts of recreational programs, so they have a better context. And in that context, they'll meet parents, and they'll understand better what their hopes and aspirations are. I mean, what parent doesn't have high hopes for their children? I think we just have to tap into it, understand it, and shape it.
But the teachers that I've talked to tell me the difficulty is that they don't have enough time to talk to the parents. There may be one day of parents' night, but the reality is that they tell me they need time to be able to have a continuing relationship with the parents, which you can do in certain neighborhoods, but not in many of the poor neighborhoods. And also the other problem is, in many cases, there may only be one parent works full time, or there may be no parent at all, because kids go from one family to another.
I understand. Well, I think it is important for teachers to have contact with the parents of their children to the extent that that's possible, but there is also a lot of pressure on a teacher's time. But we need other sorts of programs to work with children, with parents as well. Programs in family literacy, for example, so that parents learn what they can do in a small way that will make their children more ready for schools. It doesn't have to be that child's teacher who does that, but we can have other programs that will develop parents. I mean, ultimately, a teacher will never have enough time to do all the things that we would hope that he or she would be able to do.
One time I thought the best way we could ensure that students graduate from high school is to develop a program so that every parent was a high school graduate, because I found there was a very close relationship between the achievement level of the parent and the achievement level of the child. What's your reaction to that?
I think that would be wonderful. I think adult education is something that we should be focusing on. I mean, if we're going to empower children to understand the society and the democracy and the economy, we have to work with parents as well. I think it's terrific.
All right. Well, look, good luck, and we hope you'll come back in a few months and report on the progress that you made.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You can reach us by email at our website, www.cunytv.cuny.edu, or write to us at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016. We look forward to hearing from you.